Welcome to Independent Living Bullion's weekly market wrap podcast, helping precious metals investors during these treacherous times. And now, here's this week's market wrap with commentary and analysis from the fastest growing precious metals dealer in America, Independent Living Bullion.
This is Mike Gleason with Independent Living Bullion, and it is my sincere privilege to be joined now by Gerald Celente, publisher and editor of the renowned TrendsJournal. Mr. Celente is a frequent and highly sought-after guest on news programs throughout the world and has been predicting the biggest and most important trends before they happen for more than 30 years now, and it's a real honor to get a chance to speak to him today. Mr. Celente, welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us again.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
If you look at what's happened since the '08 collapse, we've seen a tremendous amount of money printing, but unfortunately, all that's really happened, given all these Keynesian policies, is that the bankers and the Wall Street types seem to be getting richer thanks to all the cheap money. But the basic wage earner, Gerald, has hardly seen any type of economic recovery in his life. We've got asset prices going up, but so have the prices of basically everything. And if you don't own many assets, you're essentially getting screwed. So now that we've seen this type of monetary policy going on for the past 5 or 6 years, talk about what this has meant for the little guy and what's happening on Main Street.
College graduates can't buy houses. Millennials are frozen out of the market. I'm of the age where it used to be that our future was going to be better than our parents. And my parents were what they call the greatest generation. So you never worried about your future. Now you look at the polls, they're looking at a futureless future. You pointed it out. All this low interest rate and cheap money has only helped the hedge funds, the private equity groups, and the vulture capitalists. It's a multinational takeover, and it's worldwide. So few have so much, and so many have so little. And it's only getting worse. Look at the real numbers. I mean, we don't have to speculate here. The gap between the rich and the poor in the United States is the widest of any of the industrialized nations, and it exceeds now the times of the Gilded Age back in the early 1900s. Those are facts. The fact is, median household income is below 1999 levels. Those are facts. And one fact after another. College students, kids not with education, with only a high school education, everybody's making less. Look at the jobs that are being created, mostly low-paying jobs. America is turned into slavelandia, and so too has much of Western Europe, with the exception of places like, Germany and other stronger economic-based countries that still export a lot of product. So what you have in the United States is we're moving into a first, second, and third world nation, and the third world status continues to build. So there's no way out of this, and here's the big lie, Mike. I'm sick of hearing this baloney about deflation. What a load of crap they keep spewing out on that one. What world are they living in? I'll tell you, the world, it's a fraud so that they could keep interest rates at these record lows and enrich the already filthy rich. That's what it's about. And so the rest of us, there used to be a thing called savings accounts when I was a young man. That's right, you put your money in the bank and you got an interest that far exceeded the inflation rate. So now you can't put your money in the bank because what are you getting back? 0.04% a year. So they keep selling this deflation myth so that they can keep the Ponzi scheme going. Because that's all this is. Look at the headlines, read behind the news, and you won't find it. But if you look closely, you will. Look what they're doing with Fannie and Freddie Mae. Now they're loosening it up, and they're allowing banks to do what caused the last crash. Bundle these worthless loans, and now they're pushing for home buyers to put down less. And if your credit rating isn't that good, we'll look the other way. They're already doing it. So they're lying about inflation because you look at the latest producer price index numbers and you can see inflation, but once again they lie. Listen, I'm up here in the Hudson Valley in New York. Colonial Kingston. You know what happened this winter? Electric and gas bills went up 50% one month, 38% another month, 28% another month. They've doubled. And have you been shopping for food lately? Hey, how about them oil prices going back up, aren't they? No, it's all in my mind. No, we don't put food and fuel into the core inflation index because them is too volatile, I tell you. And we can lie like crazy and make the people believe that we're not screwing them. So we won't put those numbers in there. There is no deflation.
So with that said, what types of steps should the common man be taking right now to protect himself? Should regular investors be looking to the stock market since things have been ripping there, or should they be turning to gold and silver? What should they be doing now?
All the markets are rigged. All the markets are rigged. This isn't hyperbole. It's fact. The LIBOR rate is rigged, the interest rates. We know that. We know that the Forex trading $3.5 trillion a day on the currency markets. We know they're rigged. I mean, we're not making this up. Even the government admits to it. We know that, that we've been writing about this, and other people, that know what's going on, have been writing about it for years as well, about the stock markets being rigged. And now with this new book out, it's like a revelation, Yeah, no kidding. So, again, to me, I don't give financial advice. I only do things that I know about, or believe I do. I've been buying gold since 1978. My first buy was at $187.50 an ounce. And I buy it and I don't trade it. I hold it. A good friend of mine has the best strategy that I believe. He buys what he could afford each month of gold and silver. And when you look at what's going on, I said they're lying about this deflation myth so they could keep printing money and devaluing the currency. And that's what they're doing. And by the way, it's not only the United States. It's the European Central Bank. Look what's going on in China. Now that, again, we all knew this, but now it's becoming official, and that is their housing market's starting to collapse. I read in the Financial Times that in just 2 years, China poured more cement in infrastructure and housing than the United States did in the entire 20th century. That's incomprehensible. That's how much they've overbuilt. So what are they doing? Well, we're not going to do anything. We're going to keep out, the shadow banking, we're going to stop that. No, they're not. Now they're coming out and saying that they have to make loans more accessible. And the same thing with the ECB. So I look at gold as a long-term play. I'll ask you this question, Mike. Let's suppose you lived in Ukraine. Would you like their currency? Or what if you had, a couple of dozen gold coins and a few hundred silver ones? You think you could buy what you want and get what you want and get more than you want or more than you think you're going to get when you exchange that gold for a commodity? So that's to me is what gold is about. And when we're talking about Russia and we're talking about Ukraine, oh, and by the way, just take a trip around the world. Hey, lovely times going on there in Thailand. Oh yeah, the courts just said the person running the country, the prime minister, has to leave. How many riots are going on in Venezuela? Beautiful day in Argentina. What's going on down there? Hey, another one in Brazil. Hey, how about all the street protests in Portugal, in Spain, in Greece? Oh, I forgot Nigeria. Go to the TrendsJournal. We wrote about Nigeria before this became an issue, just in the last issue. You go around Africa. Go around to Libya. Go to Yemen. Go to Central Africa. Go around the world and you will see one conflict after another. That's what gold is for me. Gold is the ultimate safe haven. It's been around since they started writing about man. It's not going anywhere as I see it. I used to invest in real estate, and I still do to an extent. And one of the things I've done over here in Colonial Kingston is I bought 3 pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings on the most historic corner in the U.S., the only place where there's a stone building on each corner that predates the Revolution. And I did it more out of my love of country and wanting to see a better future for this country, and being that some of it started here, the Revolution, the seeds of democracy were planted. I like to do some replanting. But I mention that also because, for example, on one building in March of 2012, I got a 15-year locked in at 2.875%. So what I'm saying is, if mortgage rates stay low, if you need a place to live, if you believe you can afford it, I also think that for myself, speaking for myself, real estate is also a good investment if you can afford it and if you need a place to live.
Well, Mr. Celente, I want to thank you very much for joining us again. And before you go, please let folks know about how they can get their hands on the tremendous information you put out there at the Trends Research Institute, and give our listeners an idea of what they'll find in the latest edition of the Trends Journal.
Well, the latest edition of the Trends Journal it's one of my favorite because, Mike, what I'm also doing is, people say to me, you pick out the problems, how about some solutions? Well, one of the ones is I write about OccupyPeace.us. This is only for Americans. If you want to start an Occupy Peace in your country, you do it. As I mentioned, where I am in Colonial Kingston, whether it was George Washington's farewell address or any of the founding fathers, from Jefferson to Franklin to Adams, you keep going up and down the list, no foreign entanglements. So I'm starting an Occupy Peace movement with the understanding of no foreign entanglements and to rebuild America. The money that we need to spend over here, not in fighting foreign wars. So there's that kind of information. There's a great article by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, the former Assistant Treasury Secretary of the United States. There's information on the new technological advances that we see. So anything from food to energy. We try to cover as many different fields as possible and the trends that are shaping the future. And I could say with all honesty and belief, there's no magazine like it in the world. It's 50 pages, whether you get it online or we suggest people consider buying the magazine edition. 50 pages, full color, no advertisements. You will read history before it happens. And as I said, when you go back to the winter editions, you go back to any of them, you will see that most of what we said is now making headlines. It's the only magazine that's beyond what Life magazine used to be, and way ahead of time. So, and we also offer discount requests for people that can't afford the full price.
Well, excellent stuff as usual. Hopefully we can have you again down the road. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Mike.
Well, that will do it for this week's Market Wrap podcast. Again, we want to give special thanks to Gerald Celente for his fantastic insights. For more information, the website is simply TrendsResearch.com. Tune in next Friday for our next weekly Market Wrap podcast. Until then, thanks for listening, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Independent Living Bullion Weekly Market Wrap. Be sure to come back next week. And don't forget to subscribe to our weekly podcast through iTunes. For answers to all of your questions, or to discreetly and securely buy or sell gold or silver coins, bars, and rounds, call 1-800-800-1865. Our knowledgeable and no-pressure specialists are standing by between 7 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday through Friday. Visit us at www.independentlivingBullion.com or call 1-800-800-1865.